From Bronx cheers to USA chants, Mason Cox's journey to the AFL has been a roller coaster. With his ExxonMobil job in the bag, the big American took a huge risk by deciding to play AFL. In this intriguing chat, we discussed why and how he made that decision, playing under extreme adversity, the Australian sports media landscape, and what the AFL can learn from American sports. Well, Mason Cox, thanks for joining us on the Talking Footy podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's good to be on.
We've had an Irishman. This is our first American.
Yeah.
It's been a whirlwind.
Yeah, it's been a heck of an adventure, to say at least. To be where I'm at, doing what I'm doing, a lot of things had to fall my way. I'm very fortunate and blessed in my life. So, just kind of living the dream, as they say.
The one thing that strikes me about your demeanour is that you're just so carefree, happy-go-lucky. You are genuinely so thankful for being in this position.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a bit of where I've come from. Like I didn't really expect it all, and to come from, I guess, being on a basketball team where you weren't really relevant, you were kind of a bench player, and that was almost, I thought that was going to be the greatest thing, that would ever happen to me, and I was so fortunate and so excited. My family was so pumped about that, and then for this whole thing to come out of the back of it and to have the family be somewhat part of the experience and kind of be able to follow me along, it's been pretty crazy. Like we just kind of talk about it. Everyone's so proud and just enjoys the experience, and everyone's been so positive about it. So,
I mean, you've got a good sense, I would imagine, of your teammates and of the guys you play with and the guys you play against and their upbringing in terms of what football means to them and a part of their life. It was not on your radar until 3 years ago. What was your childhood like by comparison?
A lot of soccer. So I had two older brothers. They both played soccer and a bit of NFL, like gridiron, back in high school, and played that at pretty much the highest level in the States. And from that, there wasn't really, I guess, a future in it. Whenever I was about 17, 18, I went to university and decided, I'm going to go down the path of becoming a mechanical engineer. I'm going to start studying study the same subject my mom and dad did. So it was just kind of, I guess, somewhat inspired by them. It was something I was good at, math and science. I said, why not give it a crack? And from that, just started playing basketball for fun. And then from that, it was some random person just kind of picked me up and said, would you help out? And I was kind of like, oh yeah, cool, some free kit, some free gear, I was like, some stuff that actually fits me. Oh, this is gonna be awesome, some free shoes. And free shoes led me to being in Australia playing AFL in front of however many thousand people. So yeah, like I said, there's so many things I can look back to. And my brother was in town about 2 weeks ago, and we just kind of had a bit of a retro talk on everything that's happened, and just how many different things have had to happen in the past, 6 to 8 years to get me where I'm at. Is just incredible. So
you said both your parents were mechanical engineers as well. What was their reaction when you said at the end of your 5-year degree and you've accepted a job at the end of that and you've said, Mum and Dad, I'm going to Australia to try out for Aussie rules?
They didn't know what it was, obviously. My dad's he's always just loved the sporting life. He's a very straight down the line, like never would me. I can imagine back in school, he'd never miss a homework, 100% on everything, like a bit of like a nerdy guy, It's funny, you ask him anything about Collingwood, he'll know every single bit of it. Would love to have a bit of a quiz show with him. And so that my dad was just kind of like, just keep living the dream, almost like he was so hyped, and he's like, dude, just go, he's like, oh man, like it'll be awesome, it's gonna be a great experience. And my mom's a bit of like, she's a bit more level-headed, I think, as far as emotional sense. She's like, no, I don't know. Like, you don't know, like, where this is going to lead down the line. You don't know much about it. So, and that was before I went over there. So you can imagine this foreign sport, half a world away, and you've got no idea anything about it. And you wonder, is this worth giving up, a 5-year degree and probably, work that job till retirement, or give something you've never heard of and don't know any information about, a go and then see how it goes.
Was it a risk?
Oh, huge risk. Huge risk. I mean, to uproot your life, really well-paying job, ExxonMobil, one of the top Fortune 500 companies. To say no to that is, I think people that probably were, classmates of mine probably thought, you silly goose, like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But I'll never forget, I came to Australia, and during our trip, my brother and myself, Nolan, after we kind of talked to different teams and stuff, and he had been in the workforce for, I think, like 4 years. And we sat on St Kilda Beach and said, what do you think?
This is your older brother?
This is my oldest brother, yeah. So he played basketball at Oklahoma State too. And he said, what do you think? And I said, I don't know, man. I'm actually leaning towards it. And he goes, dude, do it. He said, a degree's not going to expire. That was the first thing he said, I'll never forget. He said, in 10 years' time, are you going to be kicking yourself behind the desk saying, I wish, or what if, or what I wish I would have known what was? Or would you rather do it, and then, if it doesn't work out, it is what it is. Life goes on. You go back to a desk job, what you would have done before.
Yeah.
You at least can say, I gave it a go. So it was a bit of, I guess, like, for one of the first live chats I've ever had with my brother. It's something I'll never forget in my lifetime, that's for sure.
I feel like Melbourne and Aussie rules, and by extension the country, we're very insular. We're in this fishbowl, right?
Yeah.
And so what was your perspective coming from the States to coming into this environment?
It's funny because everyone thinks Australia is the place where, a crocodile's going to eat you and a snake's going to kill you. And coming over here I came here and I was quite surprised. I didn't know anything about Melbourne. I really, before AFL existed, I'd never heard of it really. Heard of Sydney, obviously the Olympics were there. And that was a big ticket item as far as international, relevance. And I didn't really know much about Melbourne, but I came over and it was so, people, oh man, the culture shock must have been huge. And I thought, yeah, it was, there's certain things, and you hear the mate after things, you kind of have a bit of a chuckle, and, you think of Crocodile Dundee and all this other stuff, and, that's not a knife and all that kind of jazz. And I don't know, but I got here and I thought to myself, I said, it could be 10 times worse. You could be in a city or a country, you don't speak the language, you can't read a street sign. The hardest thing was probably learn how to drive on the other side of the road, and that took 2 days. I'll get over it,
Yeah.
So I think a bit of a glass half full, I guess, kind of perspective, but it could have been 10 times worse, where I would have had to have a translator to sit there and have my coach talk to me. Can you imagine trying to understand certain emotions and stuff, and coach is trying to get to you while a translator is just pushing it back to you.
So what you're saying is that everybody's made this big fuss about you when really not that hard.
Nah, it's not at all. It's funny now because I'll tell my friends, I'm like, come to Australia, it's a great place, and they go, oh no, I don't know. And then I kind of think of it, and I think maybe Australians don't like other people knowing that Australia is kind of safe and a really nice country, and they're just happy with no one kind of getting in their business. Yeah. You know what? You guys go over there and you fight with other countries. You do your own thing. We'll send a few ships here and there to keep all the relations fine, and we'll be happy with ourselves. So. It's one of those things I think where there is quite a bit of isolation here. It's Australia and New Zealand are really the only people in this kind of corner, and they just don't really kick up a fuss. They just enjoy their own company, and that's one thing I've learned since I've been here is just the Melbourne kind of culture of just sitting down having a coffee and a chat with someone, and I think that's almost goes beyond just Melbourne. It's just kind of how the people are in general. Is they look after each other quite a bit more, I think, than other countries would.
Yeah. So you've accepted the Category B rookie list from Collingwood. What was your first impression walking into the biggest sporting club in the country?
First thing I thought to myself was, this is a nice place, but college was a bit nicer. That's probably a bit big-headed of me, but
so what do you mean by that? What do you mean by college is a bit nicer?
So you think of college basketball, and college basketball players aren't paid.
Yeah.
So people donate money to buy, they get on scholarship, but you're looking at guys who could be making millions of dollars in the NBA. And obviously those millions of dollars through support are coming through donors and other things like that. So there's a lot of money gets pumped into the program, but the players don't get paid, so they've got to put it somewhere. So a lot of times they put it in the facilities.
Yeah.
So you go into our locker room, we had a $500,000 staircase, marble staircase going down to our lockers. Why? Just because we could. We had the cash to do it. And we had this lounge area which was couch leather and all this kind of cow fur, all it was, and then we got our own pool table and our own kitchen and all this unique stitchings on the back of every chair, and you got your name above every locker, and you've got the whole thing, and you're really spoiled, like you really are. And we flew a private jet to all of our games. a private jet. Walk. There's just all this money in it, and I remember walking into a locker room here, and it was the same as almost any other, I guess, footy locker room. You just have your kind of little, I don't know what it'd be, like a quarter meter, wide locker with your number on it, and I was like. I used to be able to sit in my locker in college. I used to actually have a chair.
It's like a downgrade. I'm going backwards.
A little bit, it was, but it was a lot bigger space. I'll give that. You didn't have to share it with anyone else. That was before, I guess, AFLW and the netball came in. But it was kind of a funny thing because I just kind of looked at it and people were like, "Oh, this is the best of the best, isn't it? This is so great." And I go, "Yeah, it's all right." Yeah. And it not to be rude to Collingwood by any means, but it was just different. Right? Yeah, it was completely different. And I think now that it's a bit run a different way, and the amount of money that's come into Collingwood would be similar to some colleges back home, and it's quite hard for I think people to understand that in a general sense because obviously AFL is the biggest sport in Australia, but you look at there's 23 million people in Australia. There's more people that live in the state of Texas, where I'm from, than all of Australia. Yeah. And you think that times 50, not times 50 because it's one of the biggest states, but I think there's 330 million people. Over 10 times as many people in the States for a person here. Yeah. So it's just a sheer size, and you think if you would take what you have at Collingwood and put that money that's put into Collingwood and multiply it by 10. Yep. Imagine what the facilities would look like by then.
Yeah. So you've spent some time involved in soccer and basketball sort of sporting teams.
Yeah.
How does that differ to the dynamic of walking into an AFL kind of team culture?
There's a lot more shit talking in that club. I think, it was the weirdest probably thing for me to get my head wrapped around, I think, was being so close, I think, to the coaches. Back in college and stuff, it was the coach made the decisions, and that was that. There was no, there's no, personal relationships or, I guess, having a beer with a coach that was unheard of. You would have never, growing up, it was nothing. So you had to be 21 to drink beer back home anyway. So I remember the first time I met Nathan Buckley, and he's all nice and real friendly and everything. I was kind of confused. I didn't know how to take it. I was kind of like, you're the head coach, right? Are you okay? Like me having a beer in front of you? I'm not really sure you're going to judge me here. Yeah. So it was just a bit weird. And it took a bit getting used to, but obviously it's kind of like, you look at local footy and stuff, you just have a beer after the game with your mates and it's not a big deal. Yeah. Whereas I kind of saw it as like, this is a professional environment. Like this is, the top of the top. Like there's no beers with friends or anything like that. There's no drinking, none of that. And you came in here and it's just part of the Aussie culture to have a beer, So that was probably one of the weirdest things to get used to. And Dan Swan was there my first year. And the amount of crap he would just kind of have little quippets here and there. And everyone would just have a laugh and just would kind of run with it, because that's just who he was. So they were accepting of all the different characters on the team, and to have 44 guys and 22 spots and that many people, that many different characters, and have them all gel into one team and interact with each other, and it's almost organized chaos. It's a bit crazy how footy teams actually run because it is quite tough to get everyone on the same page and. To have 44 different personalities and have everyone, driving towards one end goal, it's quite tough to do. Yeah. And of course, not everyone's going to be happy because you only can pick 22 out of the 40-something guys, and to get them on the same page and going towards the same goal is a tough thing to do, I think, at times.
Who did you, when you first walked in, who did you gravitate to, and why? In terms of skill set, coaching, getting your head around how the game actually works.
Player and coach.
Yep.
Player was probably Darcy Moore whenever I came in. So Darcy he was 18 whenever I came in. We both came in a bit early, so I came in August before. So everyone else went for off season, and I came early in August and pretty much spent August, September, October here while everyone else was back on holidays. Yeah. Just to be able to get my skills enough to be able to do a main training session because I didn't know anything. So Darcy was here at the same time, and he was doing a few things here and there, and we became close. And Peter's dad reached out to me and his whole family and just kind of took me in, and it was really nice in that sense. And I had no idea who Peter was at the time, and I probably found out maybe 6 months down the road that he's a Brownlow medalist and what a Brownlow was. So they took me in, and their whole family's always been so nice. He still sends me messages after games and stuff, and has always looked after me. So there was him as a player, I think, including his family, and then as a coach, there's two, Anthony Rocker and Craig McRae, who's the head coach of the VFL at Richmond now. And I'm still really good friends with Craig, even though he's at a different club. Peb's obviously still working here, so we're still very close. And they both just kind of took me under their wing. Pebs has got a massive Italian family, and they took me in, had their pizza night, had me over, and you got everyone yelling at each other and everyone trying to yell at the ladder, and the next person, and I'm in the corner like, holy shit, what's going on? Yeah. And then Craig, he brought me into his life and let me meet his whole family, and he's just kind of always been there for me, and came to my last birthday, I think, whenever we went out for food and stuff, and has always supported me through my career. So he's always told me don't forget the little people in the journey, and he's about 5'5", I think. So he's literally and figuratively. I think he meant that. Years old and still living in mom and dad's basement. It's not like looked at as a negative. Whereas back home, if you were doing that, like you're somewhat unsuccessful. Like let's be honest. So I think the culture of moving out of home early, starting to pay bills, starting to be a bit more, I guess, like living on your own, handling your own responsibilities. That was, I think, a big thing where you grow up a bit earlier, I think, in terms of living life experience-wise. I'm trying not to dart any Aussies in, but just in life experience-wise. And I think whenever I moved over here, I was 24, I want to say 23, 24. Yeah. So I was a bit older. Had a bit matured a bit, and had already finished university and other things. So it's a different experience than back home here, with the way I guess people kind of grow up, and you don't move away for college. You usually go to college and still live at home, or might move into a new place but still be close to family. Like I don't know too many Melburnians that have gone to school in Perth or really gone to school in Sydney, or even they stay in the same town. So to me it was a massive move, moving half a world away, but I look at it now and I see my family 2 to 3 times a year, if I'm lucky. And my brother lives in Seattle, Washington. He might see my family maybe 6 times a year. So it's not, it is a difference, don't get me wrong. And I do miss people back home here and there, but I think I miss more of the friendships. And, you get to the point where people start getting married and people start having kids. They're good friends of yours. And you miss those lifetime kind of events that you just tell them, hey man, look, I'm in season, look, I can't come, I'm sorry, can't be part of the wedding, or baby showers this weekend, but I got no chance of making it. And I think it's those big life events that make you somewhat homesick, but at the same time you just gotta take a few steps back and just say, like, this is part of the experience. Like, you have to give up some stuff to get what you're getting. So unfortunately there's a bit of risk for reward, I guess, with that too. So you can't take the good with the bad.
Barker after the DeGoey kick. Well played. Blair got it up to Adams. DeGoey has run on, down towards half forward, paddling it on the numbers, feeds it back inside. More low trajectory kick. Oh, this could be a fairy tale. Mason Cox is a cowboy, as they all are at that university, and he rides it home. What a beauty.
What was the overriding feeling you had after your first game? Anzac Day, debut on the big stage, your family's out here, and you had your first kick was a goal.
Yeah, that was pretty wild. People always ask about it, and I think I'll always be known for it. And it was, I knew kind of after it happened, and I'll never forget, there was everyone, but I think maybe one person on our team came up and jumped on me and high-fived me and all this kind of stuff, and you just felt like you belonged there, and everyone had belief in you, and everyone had confidence in you to be able to do what you were doing. And obviously it was a bit of a statement at the time, I think, with a legend of the club, Trevor Cloak, and I felt quite guilty, I think, taking his spot for that week, and it was a bit of an awkward kind of thing. And credit to him, he's an amazing player and everything, a great guy, and still friends with him. But at the time it was a bit of a hot situation, I thought, and I kind of felt, I guess, a bit guilty about it, and to do well off that and have everyone kind of take you in and be accepting of you was, I think, the biggest thing I kind of came out of that from my footy sense was just the belief from the rest of the players and the coaching staff that you can, you're not just this one-off kind of, I guess, prodigy kind of thing. You're a legitimate AFL player who can do something in this league.
So that belief from the public and the teammates is really important. How do you keep, I guess, your confidence up? How do you keep that level of self-belief up to keep performing at the level that you are now?
I don't know. I think it's just more repetition than anything. You go out and you train every day. You spend extra time on goal kicking and things just to make sure that your confidence is there. And every once in a while you're gonna have a bad day kicking or a bad day on the field, and that's going to be part of the journey. So I think the early times of my career was quite troubling, I think, for myself to be up and down. And I know talking to Jason Holmes, who was another American that played, and I think we went on the Footy show or something. They asked, what's the toughest thing you've ever had to learn? And I think the biggest thing we both said was not getting down on yourself whenever you screw up, because in your career, not knowing the game and everything else, there's going to be some embarrassing moments, and I've had a few of them, don't get me wrong, but you just have to laugh with it. You have to know it's part of the experience. You've just got to take it and roll with the punches, and people are going to hate you, people are going to love you, and people are going to laugh at you, and that's just all part of the experience. It's professional sport.
It's such a unique environment. I mean, you've received Bronx cheers from your own supporters at times. And this is
you're from Bronx cheers to USA chants, hey, all in the same season.
Yeah, so I mean,
that's how it is.
It hardly makes sense, right? And this is from a club who actually know your background, and you appreciate you for what you are and what you're doing for the club, and they turn around just as quickly to pat you on the back again. I mean, that's almost part of the Australian psyche, is it, by comparison to the States? Almost tall poppy syndrome. You talk about hanging shit on guys, almost bringing each other down.
Yeah, I think it's one thing I've learned since, I guess, being in a bit of the spotlight with professional football is negative news is going to travel a lot quicker than positive news, and that's part of the job at times. Whenever you're losing, they're going to find someone to hang it on. They're going to find a scapegoat right away, and they're going to blame that person till the end. And I know this year with round one, I was that the one person everyone was looking at. So people hated me, and I'll stay off social media for a few weeks, and just kind of kept it between the four walls, as I say. And whenever you're going to have those down times in your career, and you have times where you don't perform, I guess, to your standards. And like I said, it's just part of the journey. I mean, you can't let someone else whose emotions are going to get the better of them and have comments and say things that they may not mean, and take it to heart, because it's just someone who doesn't understand, I think, what's going on within the club. And to go into round 3 and have the coaches put you right back in after having that bad of a game was one of those things where it's just I think you just look back and you say, whatever happens outside the club doesn't matter. It's the only thing that really matters is the opinions of the coaches and players that are around you. So to go back in on that round 3, and I think we played Adelaide or something like that, and played a pretty good game, and then everyone's off your back. So just as quickly as they jump on, they jump off, and that's just how it is. That's just that's the career you're in.
You're quite active on social media as well, and it's
I'll try not to get in trouble too much on it.
Well, it's really refreshing.
Yeah.
Because
if I could speak my mind, I'd love to just go a bit crazy. But,
so would I. Fascinating by comparison to what you put out there.
I'll try to just I'll try to just make funny comments on it rather than having digs at people. It's good fun. I mean, given my, I guess, background of just a bit of ignorance is bliss with the whole thing, and I think it gives a bit of a fresh kind of take to people being so serious about football.
Do we take it too seriously?
I wouldn't say too seriously. It's just passion. Everyone's got passion for the sport, and that's what makes it so amazing in Melbourne. And I always tell people, I say it's the most densely followed sport per capita in the world, I'd say. You look at Melbourne, there's how many teams there? 8 or 10 there in Melbourne alone, and you're averaging 20 to 30,000 people at a game.
But I mean, you're clearly passionate about the sport.
Yeah,
but
obviously.
But you do it in such a different way.
But I'll look at it in a different light. Not having, I guess, the growing up with it and the growing up with friends, all talking crap and all that kind of stuff. My friends they follow Collingwood and they support Collingwood because I play for them. They don't know any other players in the league. They don't know anything about it. So
do you feel a bit sorry for the kids coming into the system now because they don't have that the separation between passion and that seriousness, whereas you've got this really unique perspective to see it for what it is?
Yeah, I think, I don't know, there's some people who are actually really good at dividing the two. Some people, you go in, you see them, and they've got friends outside of the football department. They've got their own group of friends from school, whatever it may be, and that's their release from football. There's others you worry about, I think, whenever they come into the club, and you've got to tell them, don't get me wrong, coming in here every single day and training your ass off is a good thing, but you also need a break every once in a while. And I was one of those people, I think, that suffered from that. My first year was trying to prove myself, and I probably overdid it and overcooked myself my first year, and got a bit frustrated. I think whenever Jason Holmes, this would have been about 3 rounds to the end of it, Jason Holmes debuted, and I was quite frustrated because I wanted to be the first American, as you do. I think I just overcooked it. I think I said, I've just spent too much time in the club, and don't get me wrong, I think it meant too much in my life at times.
Yeah.
Where if things weren't going well, nothing in life was going well. So I'm good now though. Like, I've got a completely different friendship group, and if you were to meet my friends, you'd go, "How the hell are all these people your friends?" Like, each one is so uniquely different.
Yeah.
And, like 95% of them do not know a single thing about footy.
Yeah.
The internationals from overseas, or I have friends from Sweden. I've got friends from the Philippines, from the US, and it's just a similar experience of being away from home, and you kind of bond over that, and then you sit there and have a laugh at someone who tags you on Twitter or something like that, and you just kind of like, I met Joe Biden, and all American friends were like, "Would you have ever pictured that?" Like, I'm thinking to myself, there's no way in my life I would have ever said I'm going to meet the Vice President of the United States, and have to sit down and have to explain a foreign game to him, which I barely understood at the time.
So how do you, as a professional AFL player coming from where you've come, how do you set expectations for yourself? Like, who do you look to, and how do you decide? The sky's the limit, right?
Yeah.
Tim Steins, of course, another famous
international
ruckman, Brownlow medalist. I mean, is that your sort of aspiration, or how do you sort of temper that at the same time?
You can aspire to be James Steins, but you'll never be him. He's a unique person who I'd do anything to meet, to be honest. I watched his documentary the other day. It's quite humbling, and just what he was able to do on and off the field. I think off the field, honestly, he's probably going to be known more for what he did then, and the personality and character he was for that. And I've always wanted to meet the man, but unfortunately, things have happened that doesn't allow that. But I think for myself, expectation-wise, it's you do say it's sky's the limit, and. It's kind of cool, I guess, being one of the only people that's done it where there's nothing to really compare yourself to. So you've kind of got to say, whenever someone says, "Oh, I should be, kicking so many goals or taking so many marks a game," you say, "Well, why do you have to put a number on it?" And we've got our standards and stuff at the club of, what's a good game, what's not a good game, and your role and all that. But at the end of the day, it's I guess I'm a bit hard on myself because I think there is quite a bit of improvement, I think, and I see it as you're never going to play perfect, but you always strive for perfection. Yeah. And I think it's a bit of that carrot in front of you. You never actually get the carrot, but the carrot will always lead you to where you want to go. So as long as you still have the passion and the drive to be at your best, even though you may never actually be your best because your best is perfect. You always have that drive to be successful, and that'll kind of do you well.
Yeah. How have you found the banter or the sledging, the Aussie colloquialisms? Do you sort of get involved in it out in the field? Have you had a few decent ones come your way?
I've had a few. There's a guy from St Kilda I got in my head whenever we played them, and it wasn't even really. It was almost just, I more laughed about it. Like, it was kind of a funny quip that I was like, "Oh, it's pretty clever." Yeah. Like, I forget, he said something about being a dumbass American, and I forget I'll misquote him, and I don't even know who said it because it was behind the play. But I just had a chuckle. Like, you couldn't, I guess, be serious about it. But people get into me here and there, and I think probably my first year playing AFL, people got into me a bit more. And I always think back to that Geelong game where I was about 5 or 6 other defenders came up to me before the game, started shoving me, and I just thought, "Oh, this is a bit of a compliment, to be honest." I thrive off it a bit, I think. I love a bit of shit talk, and I don't, it's not personal. I do find one of the things weird about footy is you go in and everyone talks smack, and then as soon as the siren goes, "Oh, how you been, man? How's the day been? How's life been? It's a great story." And you're just like, "Mate, you were just punching me in the face 2 minutes ago. Like, what are you doing?" I just thought it was the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
And even like I was playing against, I'm not gonna say who, but I'll play against like teammates, or not teammates, but opponents, and you sit there and the ball goes away, and they go, "Oh man, like, how you been? Like, what have you been up to? What's going on in life?" And then all of a sudden 2 seconds later, you're in a scuffle with them, and there's about 10 people around, and you're like hating each other. So it's to go from one end to the opposite. It's so weird. Like I remember the first time I came here, I was just kind of like, look back, what are you talking about? We're in mid-game here. It's just such an odd thing.
The ironic thing is, you've played for 3 years. These guys have been playing for 10 to 15 to 20 years, and you're schooling them. Like, you're kicking 5 in MCG.
I wouldn't say schooling all of them, but
not all of them. Just most.
But yeah, it's I don't know. Like I said, I kind of find the whole thing kind of funny, and you talk about, I guess, my ignorance of people talking and all this kind of stuff, and I guess people kind of know my story because it's quite unique, but I'm still trying to catch up with everyone else. And even on the weekend, I think there's something in the paper about Daisy Thomas, whereas I know him as Dale, but Eddie decided to call him Daisy, and I had no idea. I thought he was talking about Daisy Pierce or something. And of course, that gets a bit of a run in the media. But so I didn't, on the team sheet he's named Dale, so I called him Dale, and then apparently he's got a nickname named Daisy. So there's like 750 people in the AFL. I'm struggling to keep up with names. So I didn't grow up with all these people, and the first time I ever met Nathan Buckley, I said, "Oh, hello, sir. I'm Mason Cox. What's your name?" I had no idea who he was. So that, and Eddie was the same, and everyone else. So I'll take everyone as face value. No one's really a legend to me because I've never known. The first time I ever met Peter McKenna was outside of off Swan Street, and he goes, "Oh, hey Mason, massive fan, blah blah blah, you're doing really well." And I was chatting for 2-3 minutes. I go, "Hey, it's great to meet you, buddy. Like, we'll see you later." And he goes, "Do you know who I am?" And I go, "No, I'm Mason. What's your name?" And he goes, Peter McKenna. And I'll just kind of go, "Oh, it's great to meet you. See you later, buddy." And sure enough, the next day I'm telling this story to, I think it was Darcy Moore, and I was telling the story at the club, and he goes, "You know who Peter McKenna is?" And he walks me around and he goes, go look at the career goals kicked at Collingwood over on the wall over there, and sure enough, it's Peter McKenna. And I'm like, I should know that, shouldn't I? Yeah, I should.
It's so refreshing.
So I'm just ignorant, man. Ignorance is bliss, as I say. But like, completely. You feel like you should know these things, and you feel guilty whenever you don't, and you're a bit embarrassed here and there. But it's kind of, you have to laugh about it because it's like you're just enjoying the experience, and whatever comes your way, you just kind of run with it, and hopefully no one takes anything personal because I don't mean it in a personal way, but hopefully everyone just kind of have a laugh at what I don't know, I guess, in the AFL circles. So
I think you appear not to take the game too seriously. Of course you do, but what do you do away from footy to unwind, or what do you do to kind of freshen up?
I love travel. Travel is one of the biggest things. I've travelled almost all of Australia now. I think the only place I haven't been that I want to is Byron Bay. So I've driven from Broome down to Perth, all down the west coast, and seen all that. Gone up to Cairns, been through Darwin, been through Northern Territory twice now. Been to places like Elliot. I mean, name it, many Aussies that have been to Elliot. I don't think many have.
They know where it is.
It's like 4 hours north of there, Alice Springs.
Yep.
So we did an Indigenous kind of camp up there, which was really nice with the club through the Barkly region. Got to learn about the Indigenous community and what they're doing up there, and how AFL's a bit of a carrot for them to do well in school. And just had these amazing experiences that I never knew really existed. So anytime there's a 3-4 day break or a couple weeks off or whatever it might be, you won't find me in Melbourne. You won't find me at my apartment. I'll be traveling somewhere. So I'm very fortunate, I think, to be in the position I am. And a lot of Aussies, I won't say they take advantage of it. They always say they're just going to go see something. Like, eventually I'll get to that. Eventually I'll go see Uluru. Eventually I'll do this or that, And to me, being a guy that's come over half a world away, never heard of a lot of things here, and whenever someone tells you this beautiful place, this rock that is majestic and shines red in the middle of nowhere in this red dirt area, I want to see that. And it's only 2 hour flight away, where a lot of people say, "Oh, yeah, I'll just get to it." I know I've read about it, I've heard the history about all that kind of stuff. Like, I'll eventually do it. But to me, it's like, I want to learn the history. I want to go see it firsthand. If I have the opportunity to do it on a 3 day break, or whatever it is, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go see it.
So true. You take it for granted when it's right there in front of you.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful country. I mean, you look at just down Melbourne, you look down Great Ocean Road, you get 4 different, kind of biodiversity kind of places, from, a bit of dirt to, full white rainforest to the 12 Apostles to beach to, you have so much in a condensed area that I don't think people realize how beautiful it is. You look and go down some of those waterfalls down there. That's some of the best waterfalls I've ever seen. Yeah. Like, you go to Tasmania, people hang shit on Tasmania for what it is. It's one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. Everyone, is like, "Oh man, Tassie, why would you ever go there?" And I was like, "Are you kidding me? Have you ever been
too many we like it down there like that?"
You ever been to Cradle Mountain?
Yeah.
Like, tell me how Cradle Mountain walk was. Unreal. Again, you won't find one person that didn't enjoy that. And you look at like the art exhibit down there and things like that are just so
Bruny
unique.
Island's not a good one.
Yeah, Bruny Islands. I haven't done that one yet, but it's on my bucket list. And I think people it's a 45-minute flight. You're joking.
Yeah.
You have a long weekend. Go do it. Like, there's so many amazing things so close to Australia. And if I can inspire someone to eventually to go see some things that they kind of take advantage of, I guess, and don't ever want to go see, that I'll be happy to do it.
You're still really early in your journey here with Aussie rules and Australia. Is there anything you do differently?
from the boys at the club.
Nah, I mean just in your journey so far, right? So obviously coming from college in the States and leaving your family, and then coming to Collingwood to this couple of 3 years you've been here now.
I try to stay. I don't know. I think it's a very unique journey. What I've been able to do and what I've done in my career so far, and you don't want to be, I guess, somewhat of the in the spotlight a bit. I love to tell my story. I love sharing these stories with people because it is quite unique and it's quite funny. And but you want to just be seen as one of the boys at the club. You don't want to be seen as that American. I think there's a lot of times I had that stigma on me. I was like, oh, that's that American. And I think for the first 2 years I was like, I've got to do whatever I can to not be cocky, to fit in as much as I can, just work my ass off to get to the spot, to be able to play with the boys, because I don't want them to think that I'm taking it for granted by any means. I don't want them to think that I just think that I'm some kind of hot shot coming in here. I want to be quite humble in the way I go about it, and I think that's one of the reasons I think I've somewhat fit into the Collingwood. And there's been players before that I think have come in that have had a bit of a big head, and you don't see them in a year's time. So I tried to somewhat fly under the radar for the first couple of years, and then I think whenever, obviously, Anzac Day was quite a unique experience, my first game, and after that was a bit of a story, and you kind of try to take a step back, but you wanted to make the most of the experience at the same time. So it's a bit of a tightrope at times, but it is what it is.
So to that point, in 10 years' time, what's as the American who's not the American, who's just another one of the lads, what's your legacy?
I don't know. I think everyone always talks about, leaving a positive legacy and everything else, and you want to be known for your football, don't get me wrong, but I think I want to be known more for just what I was able to, I think after training sessions and everything else, you want the fans to respect you and to change someone's life in a positive way. Anytime you see a kid, you sign his jumper, and it means 10 times more to that kid than it means to anyone else. And I think it's quite a cool experience, to go to training and see someone who's got a number 46 on the back of their jumper, and you think there's no one else that 46 is going to be for but me. And not to be big-headed by any means, but it's kind of unique and humbling, I guess, in that way. And if you can, I guess, there's so many people. I think footy is such a positive light in their life. It's something they look forward to every single day. It's some things that they strive. And they're like, oh man, I just can't wait for the game on the weekend. And it's it's the best part of my week. If you can sit there and provide that happiness for some people in their life, just by doing what you do at work every single day, I think it's quite a unique experience that hopefully people down the line will say, I love watching that guy play every single weekend, and what he did on and off the field was something that you strive to be that kind of person. So if I can finish my legacy be somewhere along those lines, I'll be happy.
We'll be very happy. We'll wrap things up shortly. I'm going to throw a few names at you.
God, here we go.
And I want you...
Try to understand who they are.
No. I just want... What's the first thing that pops into your mind when I say these names?
All right.
But I'll look after you. I'm not going to throw you the bus.
Try to throw me under the bus.
Nah, it's all right. Nathan Buckley.
Grunt.
Grunt. Is that the way he speaks? Grunt at you?
I used to love that word. He doesn't use it as much anymore, but I've seen some of his old clips now, and he just looked like one of those players that you wanted on your side whenever you got in a fight. Don't get me wrong, and he'd beat the living hell out of whoever was going against you.
He's very good. Scott Pendlebury.
Class.
Nick Maxwell.
People's person.
Eddie Maguire.
I would say he is a marketing genius.
Joe Biden.
Character.
I think you're going to say mate then, or buddy.
I would have loved, I wish I would be like, oh yeah, we're pals, we hang out all the time. But I think that guy's probably got more important people in his life to be worried about than me.
Donald Trump.
Dumbass.
Brilliant. And just wrapping up, how do we get more Yanks into the game? How do we get more Americans? Surely, economies of scale. There must be. Not to say there are a lot of people like you, because there's clearly not, but they're athletically and physically.
Athletically and physically, there's quite a few Americans out there. I think, like I said before, I think my journey's been very unique to get me here. I played soccer and basketball. That was kind of what I grew up with, and I've been fortunate enough that those two have transferred over to football, and it's quite a unique, I guess, combination to get me where I am now. I think the biggest thing with the Americans is I think there's a bit of we need to have that belief that someone can do it. And I'm hoping maybe, if I can have a successful career somewhat, it might open the floodgates for someone else to come out, and then that opens up the floodgates for someone else to come out, and then you never know what's going to happen. So, you look at the Irish guys, and Jimmy Steins obviously was one of the biggest guys to ever come out here, and now there's, 10, 15 Irish guys in the league now. So I think the biggest thing for getting the US athletes here, and there's some freak athletes in the US, and I hate to say it because I'm probably going to get absolutely pushed out here, but I think it needs a bit of a belief, as anything does, that it is possible, and there's a genuine gap in availability where that we're not filling it by other athletes coming over here, and it's going to take a very unique person who can be away from family, who can live half a world away, who has got the passion and the drive to want to be a decent athlete or a good athlete and do something with their career, because there's people who come over here from other countries and different backgrounds, and they get into it and they kind of question, they go, well, why am I here? What am I doing? No one knows what I'm doing. I'm half a world away. None of my friends follow this. Like, what's the point of this? And I've had that in my career. I've asked that myself a lot of times, but it just comes back to making the most of the experiences in life. And it's going to have some tough times. There's going to be ups and downs, but you can't let that affect you, personally. And you just have to be able to like I said, roll with the punches and look at it as I guess a 10-15 year contract where you're going to spend this much of your life giving this a go and doing anything you can to keep this going as long as you can. And I remember the first time whenever I signed the contract, one of the reasons I did it, I said, whenever I'm 40 or 50 years old, am I going to regret this decision? And I knew in my heart that I said, there's no chance in hell I'll ever regret coming to a different place. And whether it works out or not, that's it's up to the stars of the line. And but I'll be 40 sitting on a couch one day thinking, how cool is that?
Is there anything from the American sports in particular that you think we could incorporate into our game? Is there anything that we could be doing better?
Have you ever been to the States?
Yep.
You ever been to sporting events there?
Yeah, I've been to the Super Bowl.
You've been to the Super Bowl? You ever notice there's a lot of breaks?
Yeah.
In play in American sports?
Yeah.
And they fill those breaks with entertainment for the crowd?
Yeah.
That's one thing that's different from AFL to I think a lot of American sports is you look at basketball and they've got, maybe a timeout and they've got these dancers on the floor.
That fan engagement type stuff.
Fan engagement in the States is tenfold over to what it is here. But it's tough because the only times you'd ever get fan engagement is during quarter time because it is a fluent game that just keeps going. It's like soccer. I mean, fan engagement in soccer would be similar where you don't really have a lot of time to fill. But in the States, they've mastered it. They've absolutely mastered it to get the whole family involved. You look at a game and maybe a baseball game, you've got the dot race and they hand out little things that say you get a free taco if your dot wins, or something like that, where everyone's getting up and about and yelling and screaming and people are doing the wave around the whole stadium and stuff like that. It's different. It is different, but I think the major difference is how passionate people are here. Every game is such a big game, and people will talk smack, for the rest of the year. If Collingwood beats Carlton or Carlton beats Collingwood, and it becomes a thing at the office, you always talk smack every morning about. Yeah. And I think back home, you play teams so often that it's not as much of a rivalry. Whereas it's here, it's the fan engagement is the actual game, and everyone screams out ball, and they just go crazy for it, and it's just a bit of a different aspect. But I think there's a bit of the game is very unique, and it's actually gone really well for how much the media talks smack about it. I think the game's honestly one of the most entertaining parts that's ever been. How much skill's involved, the athletic ability of all the players, it's actually quite astonishing. And I don't think it gets enough credit because, like I said before, negativity is always going to outdo positivity. Yep. And that's the thing. I think the only difference between American sports and Australian sports that might be able to be somewhat changed a bit would be fan engagement, but it is a restricted thing of efficiency of free time to actually do it. Yep.
Now you've got your own podcast at the moment.
Yeah, the Boardroom. It's not my own. I won't take credit for it. It's Tom Phillips,
yep.
I think he's in the race for the Brownlow. A few beers at the end of the year. So he's running it with with a couple of friends of his, and I've just kind of jumped in on it as a kind of a guest speaker for the year. As one of them's somewhat moved on to another role in Bendigo for media opportunities.
Yep.
So I've jumped on that, the podcast. It's called The Boardroom if you want to get on it. And it's a different twist. Me and Tom are, I guess, we're different kind of people than you would think of as just a typical footy player. And we kind of bring out our ideas and, our thought processes on this podcast. And we bring in businessmen and, ask them what's made them successful, ask them about their tough times and how they've gotten through them, and advice to other people that might be going through something similar.
Yeah.
So now it's a way of us, I guess, somewhat giving back, getting a bit of media experience ourselves, and hopefully other people that listen in can take something from it for their personal life.
And as we like to call it, life after football, I could see you being AFL's greatest endorsement or ambassador in the States for the game.
I'd love to be an ambassador for them. I'm going to the US AFL National Championships this year.
Cool.
So both my brothers, actually it's a funny story, both my brothers play AFL in the States.
And they're more successful than you.
Yeah, I know, they give me extra shit. I'm sick of it, actually. They've both got premiership medals, I think you could call it. I don't even know, and they're hanging on me every single time they see me. I say, we've won a premiership and you haven't. So I'm sure I can win a premiership in the US AFL as soon as I retire pretty easily, I guess, as long as the team around me is pretty good. But they both picked it up there, and I've been fortunate enough now. I think the AFL is going to fly me over there and just kind of be an ambassador, and hopefully I can work those relations and, like you were saying earlier, somewhat open the floodgates for other Americans to maybe come out and help them out as far as the experience of coming over here and making it easier, and having gone through, I guess, some of the struggles that these people would have coming over here, and being able to make it through, I guess, the tough times, and whether it be sometimes permanent residency or trying to get citizenship and things that I've gone through in my lifetime, to be able to have the people and the contacts in place to be able to help them out is something I think I can definitely put on the table for the AFL to maybe hopefully hire me at some point.
Well, Mason, I get the impression, keep the form up, you'll have your own premiership medal soon enough.
Hopefully, who knows? I'm knocking on wood.
Fascinating chat, mate. Thank you very much for the time.
Thanks for having me on. It's been good.
We're talking footy.